how to prepare to Microsoft exam with Microsoft Learn. So go, Dwayne.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction. I am very excited to be presenting to everybody today. So good evening to everybody in the UK and Ireland, and good morning if you're in my neck of the woods in the United States, and good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. So thank you very much. Appreciate the time today. And as stated, this session will cover exam prep with Microsoft Learn. Tough act to follow with Damien, but I'll do my best here. So my name's Dwayne Natwick. I'm based, as I stated before, in the United States, in a suburb of Detroit, Michigan. I spend my time authoring coursework, training, and also I am a product manager. Been in the industry for over 30 years. I have multiple certifications in Azure and 365, as well as the having my CISSP and PMP. I am a Microsoft certified trainer and a regional lead for that program. So I try to stay active in the community and try to work with helping other MCTs and Microsoft enthusiasts to continue their path forward. The topics of this session will cover, for those of you that may not be familiar with Microsoft Learn, what is Microsoft Learn? What would you use Microsoft Learn for, and how to start learning and using Microsoft Learn to prepare for your Azure exams. And then we'll finish up talking about how to start your exam prep, building your own learning roadmap and continuation of that exam prep, not just within Microsoft Learn, but for outside resources as well. So why would you use Microsoft Learn, and what is Microsoft Learn? Microsoft's put a lot into Microsoft Learn over the past 6 months. So if you had used Microsoft for training in the past and it might have been a bit clumsy at times, that you had to go to one site or another for different training paths, Microsoft has done a great job in bringing all of that together into the Microsoft Learn website. And what is great about it is a free platform for structured learning. There are 3 main sections that allow you to start your training plan. And these paths are, you can go directly to a learning path, to the certifications, as well as there's a link directly to Microsoft Docs from within the portal or within the website. The learning paths take you directly into the Microsoft Learn content. Takes you directly to courses that you can start building, bookmarking and taking your learning path. If you have a specific area to study that you want to gain knowledge in, you can search and filter to find what you're looking for and what you need. If you have a specific certification that you're looking to accomplish and plan to focus on, then you can navigate directly into the certification section, find a desired learning path, link right into an exam or certification, find that area of interest, and then within the pages for those exams are the learning paths for that exam. And then, as I stated before, the docs section does not take you specifically to any learning paths or any exams, but is a great resource. As many of you on this call probably know, the Microsoft Docs are a great resource to get reference on how to set up Microsoft services and tutorials that step you right through setting up services within Azure and the other 365 Dynamics Power Platform services. So why would you use Microsoft Learn? As I stated before, there's many different reasons. It builds learning paths for many of the role-based certifications. We talk a lot about Azure, but also Microsoft 365, Dynamics, Power Platform is becoming more and more valuable and talked about within the Microsoft community, as well as a lot of others, a lot of fundamentals courses and things like that. You have the ability then to choose those learning plans, bookmark those learning plans so you can come back and reference them quickly, choose specific modules for specific topics of interest. And best of all, you can learn all of this and do all this at your own pace. And the content on Microsoft Learn is 100% free. So it doesn't cost you anything to look into a learning plan, take a learning path or a course on Microsoft Learn. If you decide, I want to look more into Power Platform, go into a Power Platform course, take that thinking, I might want to head down this path in my career, head down this for my certification. Take that course and go, well, this is too much for me. I need to think of something else. You can switch courses very easily with the only investment being your time. So getting started, important thing here to get started is you must have a Microsoft account. Many of us, if we have gone through and done any certifications or testing within Microsoft, we have our Microsoft account. So you have your Microsoft account, you log in with your Microsoft account, and you immediately have access to the Microsoft Learn catalog and can utilize that. I recommend that you make this account your personal email address rather than utilizing your company email address. If you work for a company, you can use that, using that email address as a personal email address that's then going to follow you if you don't stay with that particular company. If the company wants to use your certifications for competencies, it's very easy to link that account and those certifications into your corporate account. And then if you are to depart from that company, you can disconnect them yourself very easily with your next company by logging in to the partner portal for your new company and decouple and recouple accounts. So keep your account your own is my main thing to take away from this slide, is make sure that you use your personal address so you're not caught having to change an address if for something happens to you in your current company. After you've logged in with your Microsoft account, then you can start building your training and start learning within the Microsoft Learn environment. And you can, I'll step through a lot of this when we'll demo this in a few minutes. So if you want to set goals for yourself, you can track your progress. If you like to track points and progress and tier levels, all of that gets tracked within Microsoft Learn, and we'll talk about that and show some examples of that in a few minutes. The organization of Microsoft Learn is pretty easy to understand, and Microsoft Learn is organized to find training in multiple ways, whether you're searching and have a specific job role that you are in and want to look at, or just want to go directly to specific exams or certifications. You can go there right from the Azure, right from the Microsoft Learn search portal. And then within exam pages themselves, you have the ability to customize learning paths and look at those customized learning paths for those specific exams. And we'll step through that again when I jump into the web page here in a few minutes. The learning paths and modules are organized as well in a manner that fits into your schedule. So you don't need to take away necessarily from your corporate time or your family time. You can find an hour in the evening or in the morning before work starts to take a module or two within Microsoft Learn and then start back up where you left off the next time you log in. Most of the modules have a estimated time placed with them that is a time to complete, and depending on how deep you get into the material, how deep you look at the material, how quickly you read for example, that may fluctuate a little bit, but it gives you an idea of, I got 15 minutes of extra time, how long does this module take? And again, so you can set your own pace. You can continue to work through those modules without it taking advantage of, without it deterring your time with with your day job if you have one, or working through your exams and prepping for your exams based on a timeline that you've set for yourself to take an exam. And once you've become comfortable with that, logging in and finding training, now you can start building a roadmap that allows you to get certified. And if you're looking for a specific Azure exam, you can browse, again, those certifications and exams by just simply typing Azure into the search bar, and all of the Azure-specific exams and certifications are going to pop right up in tiles, as you can see here on the slide. From here, then, this allows you to choose that certification or the exam and find that learning path within the exam. It has, as many of you may have gone into the exams, you have your objective section within there. If you scroll down to the bottom, if there is a learning path for the exam, that is where that's located within the exam page. There are additional filters also on the left side of the slide that you can then filter even more so on what your role is or what your certification level is. If you're just looking for fundamentals or associate level or expert level, you can filter even deeper using that filter on that side. And then it allows you then to choose that focus area that you're looking to build your roadmap. It's another fun way that Microsoft has built into Learn, and that's taking advantage of skills challenges. These challenges allow you to choose a path and complete a challenge based on that path. So they're fun little competitions within the community. You can participate in these challenges. I'm participating in one right now that's for Microsoft partners that they created an April, May and June challenge, where Microsoft is providing prizes for that challenge based on and you're getting a opportunity for the drawing based on how many thousands of points you've accumulated. So those are ways to just make the learning fun, give you some additional motivation to take learning paths and earn, like I said, you can earn additional badges. They have a specific badge for taking place in the challenge, and you also have, if your organization is a Microsoft partner, reach out to your alliance lead for Microsoft and might be able to get a challenge created within your organization. I'm creating one within my organization for increasing the understanding around Azure and 365 within my organization. I've created a skills challenge among all the sales groups to work through, to go through a month-long challenge and get some great prizes out of it. So to continue your exam prep, and depending on the skill level of the exam, I've talked a lot about Microsoft Learn, and like I said, it's free and a great way to start for the Microsoft learning paths and to increase and build your Azure capabilities right off the bat. But for some of the exams, it may not be the be-all, end-all that is enough to pass an exam. Maybe for the fundamentals exams, you could work your way through the fundamentals learning path and get enough information around learning. But it's important to review the exam objectives from the start and identify your key areas of focus and understand where you have those biggest learning gaps and what the learning gaps are for your understanding of the material and what is needed for the Microsoft exams. As I stated before, Microsoft Docs is a great source to gain additional information about the services within each exam. It's always good to not just take a learning course, but getting some hands-on for, especially like the associate and expert courses, doing hands-on understanding how the Microsoft services work, as well as reviewing the docs, reviewing the tutorials for the docs, understanding the ins and outs of every one of the technologies within there. And there are a lot of study guides that you can find out on social media by many of our other community groups. Gregor, who's on this call and proctoring for us, does a great job of creating study guides with very helpful links to all the Microsoft Docs for many of the exams. And on the slide presentation here, I actually have his Git repository link right on the slide for you. Another community member that runs Build 5.9s, Chris does a great job of creating self-assessments for your exams based on all of the objectives that are part of each of the exams in a nice Excel spreadsheet form where you can self-assess. Okay, my ability in this particular skill and objective within the Azure Associate exam is 50%. So I need to really look deeper at this particular point, where in another one I might be at 100%. So I'm happy with where I'm at there. So you can create those key focus areas and find additional resources, Microsoft Docs. Maybe there is a learning path on a specific objective that you need to look at within Microsoft Learn. So now let's take I'll take a quick walk through. We'll spend the rest of the time kind of walking through the Microsoft Learn portal so that everybody can get a good feel, if you haven't been in there, and understand what changes have taken place within the Learn portal, and show you how I try to navigate through when I'm working on an Azure exam, and start with the Microsoft Learn as my first step. So when you first get into, so as you can see, I've already logged into my portal here, and you can see that here are the three sections here for the Microsoft Learn. I can click on Docs here, and this takes you right to all of the technical documentation. As I stated, no real learning paths within Azure Docs, or within Microsoft Docs, but you can go right into each of the technologies right in here and find the documentation that's part of the Microsoft ecosystem. But we'll look at going right into browsing the learning options. And from right here, you immediately get into the tiles and all of the learning options within here. And you can see creating an Azure account is the first one that pops up here. It's a 39-minute course. It has the level of administrator role. It's an Azure exam, and it's a beginner course. So for those of you just starting within potentially cloud and Azure area, these first two courses that pop up here in Cloud Concepts and Creating an Azure Account are a great place to start. You can, again, filter here on specific technologies. So if you're looking at Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, for example, we can select that filter, and it immediately pulls up all the courses that pertain to Azure Active Directory. So if you're looking at how to work and how in the Active Directory environment, and how Azure Active Directory differs from a typical on-premise Active Directory, for example, your company's just now starting to move into the cloud, and you want to know how that works, you can easily go right in here and filter on that. Again, you have all these Azure services in here. You have Dynamics, Microsoft 365, Office, Power Platform. You can go down here and look at the specific roles. So if you're just at a student level, you're looking for something to start out and looking at expanding your cloud understanding as you get out of school, that's a good place to start. You're an AI engineer. You will have a couple options here around AI to get started and build your path. You can see here that you can add a bookmark that would then go into your profile, where you can easily find these courses and continue your learning path as well. I had mentioned close this one a little bit since it's so long. Roles. You have your levels, like I mentioned, beginner, intermediate, advanced. So if you know where you feel you are within the Azure environment, you can go right into here. And then your types, whether you're just if you're looking for a specific module, or are you looking for a full learning path. So you can see here, when you click into the learning path, this is a mixture of modules put into the learning path. And you can see that it gives you the time here. So the estimated time for Azure Fundamentals is around 10 hours. Depending on where you are within understanding Azure services, it may or may not take you 10 hours. It might take you a lot less time. Microsoft Office 365 Fundamentals, as you can see here, I've recently worked through this certification. So that one's about just a little over 4 hours. Power Platform Fundamentals. You have Microsoft Teams, and once you complete these, you can see I've been through these already. They've been completed, so I no longer need to concern myself with this. If I've gone through and I've learned, but you can go back into these courses and take them again if you took them a while ago and maybe didn't take the exam or need to review before you take the exam. You can certainly go back through these. And if I go let me go back to the main page. And let's go look through how it works from a certification standpoint. So I'm going in, I want to look at becoming a developer, for example. So we go into Microsoft certifications, and right away you see the main paths of certifications within here. So we'll go into the developer, as I stated. And you can see it shows your potential path to certification. taking the fundamental certification is always in front of all of the certifications, yet it is not currently a prerequisite to taking any of these exams. So if you're new to the learning paths and the certification paths within Microsoft, they have not required fundamentals as being a requirement to start your exams, but it is a good place to start. If you've never taken a Microsoft exam before, taking a fundamentals exam gets you comfortable with the exam platform and how questions are asked within Microsoft when you take an exam, and it gives you a good foundation for all of the services within Microsoft. So when you go in here and look at the certifications and look at the different developer certifications, we can go right in here into the Azure Developer Associate exam, and you can see there is an exam associated with it. There's currently a beta exam, which is AZ204. Previously, it was numbered AZ203, which is about to be retired. This exam will be updated. Key thing around this exam, if you are looking at the developer exam, is taking a beta exam. When you do not get scored right away on a beta exam, it does not score until after it's been generally available in its release, and you're going to wait then potentially 30 to 60 days after that general release of that exam before you get scored. The current 203 exam, actually, you could still take right now and get immediate results on that. Just quick side note there for everybody. But as I scroll down here, you can see here are our 2 ways to prepare. There are a lot of instructor-led courses within Microsoft. Microsoft has instructor-led courses. They have their learning partners out there that provide courses. You can find courses on various learning platforms out on the internet and on the web. But here is your online free course right here. So you could start right in here on your learning path, and you're off and running. You can see right here, creating serverless applications. So if Damien's talk right before mine was interesting to you on developing and working on serverless applications, you can do that right here and start your learning path. In about 7.5 hours, you've completed this module. Each of these modules give you a certain level of points. You can see this full module is 9,800 points. This learning path, and then each of the modules is about 800 to 2,000 points, and you get these badges for each one that you're completed. So you start collecting your little Microsoft Learn badges and getting this XP up, and you're leveling up. So it becomes kind of a game to you, just like any kind of online game where you want to level up, you want to add more points in there, you want to make your portfolio look good in Microsoft Learn. You can see I'm at level 10 right now, and I'm a little less than halfway to level 11 right now in my Microsoft Learn portfolio. Let's see. Go to another. As I mentioned before, I mentioned skills challenges, and I wanted to show you what a skills challenge looks like. This is a partner challenge that I'm currently a part of right now. I enjoy doing learning. I spend a portion of probably every other day going into Microsoft Learn and just learning something, going into a track and trying to learn more around that particular track. So you can see I'm in this partner challenge right now for April, and you can see there's 57 participants within this challenge, and you can see The learner growth is in here, so you can track all the learners and how many points they've accumulated. If you're the administrator of the challenge, you can kind of push people to doing more learning. But I'm not the administrator of this challenge, so you can see where everybody lies within here and can see where you rank and what your growth is. So you can see the challenge growth is actually how many points I've accumulated this month in the challenge. So it's another fun way to just create some competition and learn in the process. Let me go into one of these courses here just to kind of show you what it looks like. You can see, it is you get generally an introduction, which you kind of zip through pretty quickly. It gives you kind of the objectives and everything like that. And then it's really a lot like if you're doing an exam prep guide, and where you're reading a lot of the material in there. And it goes through this material. You go through the material. I'm trying to find let me go out. I know there's one particular. Let me search the Devops here real quick. We go into the DevOps exam because they've done a really good job on the DevOps learning path here, where they've built a complete kind of company scenario that you go through within this, and it is very interactive in how this course has been done. So you can see here, this one's very interactive. You have a team here that you're working with in this. I'm going to step through here. I want to show you some of the rich content that you can find in some of these courses, where it's not all text work. Here, as you get to an end of a module, there is a check your knowledge where you can check your knowledge, answer a couple questions. It's usually never more than maybe 5 questions. Usually it's only 2 or 3, depending on how big the module particularly is. I'm trying to find a good one here. Bear with me a second here. I'll give it another minute here to see if I find the exact one I'm looking for, but all right, I'm not coming to it right now, so I'm not gonna waste your time on that. If you do go into the DevOps, if you're looking at learning more about DevOps, as I stated, the AZ 400 exam path is a very nice exam. Some of the modules, and what I was trying to find was some of the modules have embedded videos from Microsoft employees, some of the great people that you know within the community. I think Donovan Brown is in one of them. So you can so some great videos that are embedded in, as well as you get further along in that DevOps, there is some actual embedded labs within there as well. I know Microsoft has pulled back on some of their lab learning lately. I don't know if right now they have it active in there with the current global situation and an increased need on global bandwidth, but when I went through this, even just it was only like a month ago, there were labs embedded in where you actually launched a RDP session into a Microsoft Azure virtual machine, and you could go right in and do the exercise that's embedded within Microsoft Learn. So you actually get some hands-on. Not all of the courses within Microsoft Learn have that rich of content, but there are a few of them that you'll come across that do have that give you some hands-on stuff without having to create your own Microsoft lab environment. So I've gone through and showed you that there are a lot of different directions to go through in your path to Azure Learning and Microsoft Learning. And we covered, what is Microsoft Learn, and hopefully you've gotten out of this session what is a good path to begin your learning and begin your roadmap as you continue to expand yourself and continue down that highway of learning. There are a lot of different directions to take, as I tried to capture in the graphic here. But whatever direction you take, Microsoft Learn is a great place to start. And if anybody's interested in reaching out to me, you can connect with me on any of the social media. Feel free to visit my website. I try to provide information around the learning community and some technology information around Azure and Microsoft and cloud technologies within my website, and follow me on social media. So there any I haven't been following, been doing what I've been told to not follow and track the comments. So let's take a look and see if there are any questions for me to answer here.
So there was some question, and I think there was answer already on the chat. But
okay,
can you tell us that you recommend to taking an exam after just finish the learning course?
Yeah, so it depends. Like I said, I think I mentioned quickly in the presentation that depending on where your comfort level is going in, and that's why I recommend going to the taking and assessing yourself based on the objectives of the exam. Depending on how comfortable you are, potentially if you're working in Azure and you're taking an Azure exam, you might be able to get by with just taking the Microsoft Learn course. I, for example, generally need a little bit more of a push from another learning path than just, and that's more because I'm a auditory learner. So having an instructor course that's speaking to me around it, and that I can follow along in Azure or in an administrator dashboard, having my own lab environment where I can follow along a little bit, especially with the associate and the architecture or expert courses. You might need a little bit more of that just to be comfortable going into that exam. Like I said, the Devops expert course within Microsoft Learn is probably the richest course within all of the Microsoft Learn environment. It gives you that hands-on. It gives you videos that speak to you about the particular module's technology. So if you are in development and you've done some work in Azure DevOps, it might give you enough and fill enough of those gaps for you to take the exam. The fundamentals courses are very helpful to taking those exams. Especially for some of the new ones like Power Platform. I took the beta of the Power Platform exam, and all I did was go through the Microsoft Learn course for that fundamentals certification. So those, because they're specifically around just knowing the services and the technologies and guiding organizations to what subscription models to go to and things like that. The fundamentals courses could be enough for you to pass the exam, but I definitely recommend going into, especially going into Microsoft Docs and running through some of the tutorials and doing hands-on before you take an associate or an expert level exam.
Dwayne, it's Gregor here.
Yes, sir.
So on the questions, Sandy's kind of talking a lot about security and learning security and associated products. Can you talk a little bit about the AZ500?
Yeah. Let's see. Let me look through here. What Sandy's wanting here.
Dwayne, can I?
Okay, just
Can I speak? It might be easier for me.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that.
Yes, Sandy. Go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks all for sharing that link. So that provides a general overview of security and also some of the key products like Azure Threat Protection, which is key. But the challenge with Microsoft is they keep adding new products in. For example, one of the new products they've added is Microsoft Cloud Access Broker Services, MCAS. Or CASB is what they call it. That's a part of ATP now. So this certification does not cover that course, but it's also a necessity to sort of ensure that you have your estate covered well by Microsoft. So it's just what is your recommendation? Do you recommend to just study or just get the course sort of run through and passed, and then spend some more time on specific products later down the line, or wait for the complete course to be sort of linked and do it properly? It's just trying to understand what's the best.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at specifically just getting the certification and taking the exam, looking at the Microsoft courses, understanding the objectives and what docs are part of those objectives, is a great way to prepare for those exams. And then, as things adapt and things become new around those courses, you can go into Microsoft Docs and search directly on the new technologies and learn about those new technologies. Generally, there is a lag. You've got a lag when a new technology goes GA before it enters an exam anyway. So, and it's usually probably, 60 to 90 days at minimum, before it's going to find itself into the exam. And generally all of the course content and everything gets updated by then. So they would add those modules probably into Microsoft Learn at that point anyway. But if and you're interested in, and you've learned that there's new content that's been announced, definitely go into the Microsoft Docs to learn that content. You can go into Microsoft Learn, like I said, if you're looking at, something that's added to, ATP, you could search, like I said, right on those modules and right on those learning paths, and find if there's a module on that specific technology that's been added as well.
Yeah, thanks. That clarifies. Could I ask one quick question as well?
Of course.
Now, normally there's this practice of sort of doing test exercises or going through dumps, question dumps just before sitting the exam. Is that something?
We don't like saying question dumps.
Probably the wrong terminology.
Prep exams. Prep exams.
Yeah. Before attending the actual exams, just so that there's a bit more surety of passing. Is that provisioned in the learning path, or is it something it has to be done separately?
There are, like I said, through each module, there's a knowledge check that's generally 3 to 5 questions. They're not as in depth as the exam questions generally, but they're helpful to just understand, did you comprehend that information and absorb that information? But there is not once you finish that learning path, a full-on prep exam that you can take on there. That's reserved for the measure up exams at Microsoft that you can buy through Microsoft and things like that, or finding a prep exam through a learning partner or something like that. Unfortunately, that's one thing I think they're missing. They're missing the point there. They're missing that a little bit within Microsoft Learn. I wish that you'd finish a learning path and have a exam from that standpoint, that you could take a full on kind of practice test on that learning path, but they haven't implemented that yet.
Yeah, thank you, Dwayne and Rolf.
And then one more adding here, Rolf speaking. You probably want to shy away from the dumps. If you just want to bluntly learn questions and answers, that's not going to bring you the expert level. It's going to bring you to a level where you are able to answer, but you do not understand the product necessarily. I'm not telling that you may not, but in general, just learning straightforward the question and answer bit is not giving you the expert level that you should consider for your practice and work down the road. So I cannot recommend any kind of dump quality, which is considered sometimes a little bit fishy.
Yeah, Rolf, I agree. You can get yourself into a false sense of security, because if you keep taking prep exams and prepping using, even Measure Up and taking that over and over again to get your score up, all you're doing is memorizing then the questions and answers for those exams. So I agree with you there. Nothing replaces trying to, if you have the ability, especially around Azure, to take and get yourself the free 30 days of Azure and go into the Azure portal and play around, especially if you're looking at one of the associate exams, going in and creating services and deleting services and understanding what goes in the portal is going to be invaluable to your exam prep. Like I said, with the fundamentals exams, those are a lot around understanding the subscription models and the services within those subscriptions and things like that, understanding what service does what to select the proper service. So you can gain a lot of that right in Microsoft Learn or through, free YouTube videos and things like that can prepare you for that, because they're not really the deep dive at that point.
Cool. Does anyone else have any questions? Anything they'd like to ask?
Maybe we should add that if you have one of the Azure subscriptions, and they always say this 30 days, you have a lot of free services, and this subscription is with you for in total a year. So even the money that they give you, that is just for the 30 days or any other thing, but you can always use the free services. There are plenty of them, and it's good to play around with them and get a good feeling. And sometimes even if you want to create a virtual machine, you can go to the last step without creating it, and then you see the procedure, you see what they're asking. So that gives you a good feeling about the product without actually using some money inside a subscription. So you can get used to how it feels and how you need to work.
Yep. The important thing to understand when you're working in Azure is compute, storage, and network transmission are your three main costs. So yeah, you can create, if you don't create a virtual machine or don't create a storage account, you can create and play around with creating resource groups and creating virtual networks and peering virtual networks and things like that right in the Azure portal. It doesn't cost you a thing.
I've got a question here for you, Dwayne. What
Yes, sir.
What exam would you recommend to get started with for people who have never done an Azure exam?
Like I stated, the fundamentals exams are great exams to start with. They're only $99, so they're cheaper. They're less expensive than the other exams. $99 US. Sorry, I know I'm talking around the world. For example, in US dollars, fundamentals exams are $99. A typical Azure associate exam is 165. So you're saving, 66 US dollars by taking a fundamentals exam. So you're making less of an investment to it, and it gets you familiar with the exam question process and understanding how questions are asked within Microsoft when you're taking an exam. So I always recommend the fundamentals courses, even though the fundamentals courses aren't a prerequisite to any exam. It's a great place to start. It's a great place to start building your certification portfolio as well. And you do learn something around where costs are and what subscriptions provide for you also.
Okay, I've got one more question.
Sure thing.
Other than the fundamentals, if you've passed the fundamentals exam, and say Sandy, for example, wants to kind of study for the AZ 500 security exam, roughly, I know this is a bit of a guess, but how long do you think it would take to study for the exams? What sort of timescales do you think?
I guess depending on where you're coming from. So you may be new to Azure, but you may not be new to security. So if you understand some of the basics, the basis around security, one of the key things around, especially the AZ 500 exam, is it is very heavy around Azure Active Directory. So if you don't understand Azure Active Directory, you really should be spending some time to understand the capabilities around Azure Active Directory, the use of AD Connect to synchronize it with on-premise Active Directory, and then the different subscription models of Azure Active Directory to get certain services such as conditional access or privileged identity management. That's really big there, as well as databases, and database security is another big part. So if you're not a database person, you're going to need to spend some time on that. I probably spent a good focused week or two preparing for that exam. However, when I took the exam, I had taken the 100 and the 101 before they combined those for the administrator exam. And a lot of the 100, what was in those two exams was what got pulled. Some of that got pulled out when they combined it and put it in the 500. So, but those are the key things. If you're not familiar with all of the Azure Active Directory and how the subscriptions work with that, as well as database security, it's going to take you a little bit longer to prepare yourself and understand what you're preparing for. But I've spent, usually with an exam, it's between, I try and schedule it about a month in advance, and I'll try and spend a good week or two really strongly preparing for it. And depending on how big it is, it might take me all of 4 weeks to prepare, where I'm really ramping up to a point, and then really up until the 3 days or so before the exam, then I'm really hitting the information hard, making sure that I'm filling all my gaps, reviewing the Microsoft docs on things that I'm feeling not as prepared for, and things like that. And a lot of the exams might surprise you. They're putting, they've put labs into a lot of exams, so knowing some hands-on around what you need to do within those environments are important as well.
I may add to that. So Microsoft themselves, they ask themselves, how much time do you really need? So for an average 4 to 5 day class, when you're doing instructor-led, normally people are investing at least a week additionally in self-study to prepare themselves. So what Dwayne said is mapping that pretty much, but it really depends on your own background and how much you can invest and learn. So just make sure that you allocate the time, and then you're staying focused. And where coming from is also, of course, helping. If you're just starting at ground zero, the /learn, Microsoft Learn stuff is the best way to start to build the fundamental knowledge, then go through the fundamentals certification, and then decide on your track. So a week learning on top, that's the minimum after you've taken a course. That's our experience as trainers.
Well said, Ralph. Perfect. Yep.
Right, okay, well, thank you very much, Dwayne, for your session. I'm pretty sure everyone enjoyed that, and great content, lots of good learning there. Thank you very much. Do you mind staying in the chat just in case, for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, just in case anyone's got a... Cool, okay.
I will, thank you.
Let's just...
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, thanks.